is Michael Teachings. And like I was saying here, here's all the characteristics that he's got. So the first three on here are part of his essence. That's the role, essence, twin, and casting. They're like personality type characteristics that he maintains through all of his lives on Earth. He'll have these same characteristics. So his role is a king. His essence twin, which is the soul he's closely bonded with, is an artisan. And his casting, which is more like secondary characteristics that he has, is the type scholar. His focus or soul age is the structure or baby soul age. His goal is discrimination. His attitude is spiritualist. His mode is power. His centering is physical. His obstacle is martyrdom. And his body type is mercurial. So his role, like I said, is the king. Kings seek mastery in everything they do. They want to be very efficient and capable and do a lot of stuff. But they're a cardinal type, which means that they're more focused on addressing groups. So they're usually in high positions. Maybe they're leading companies, or they're in high political positions. But usually they're the one leading everything, and everybody else kind of gravitates around them, and they're the ones that demand things from other people, and they can see the way to efficiently make things happen with working with other people. The positive pole, so there's 2 poles for each characteristic. There's a positive pole and a negative pole. The positive is the higher aspect of it, and the negative pole is the lower. So in the higher aspect, he's demonstrating mastery, which is seeking self-control and excellence. In the negative pole is tyranny, where they feel entitled to have their own way and tell others what to do. And other people who are kings are Jesus Christ, Buddha, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, Steve Jobs, Arnold Schwarzenegger, John F. Kennedy, Ian Curtis, who's the singer of Joy Division, Joe Duplantier, who's the vocalist and guitarist of Gojira, and I forgot to add on here also the Kanye West, which is another video I did earlier. I did a video about him, and he's also a king. So that's his role. That's his main type. It's the same throughout all his lives on Earth. Throughout all his reincarnational lives, it's the same. So the next characteristic he's got a artisan essence twin. And the essence twin is essentially the soul that you chose to bond with throughout your whole reincarnational cycle. You're always going to be deeply connected with the soul, and you actually take on characteristics of that soul, especially when the essence twin isn't alive. So when they're waiting in between lives on the astral plane, which is when they're discarnate, which is the case for Kid Cudi in this life right now. His essence twin is discarnate, not living right now. So he actually gets some extra characteristics of artisan, which is a very creative type. They seek originality. In the positive pole, they demonstrate creation, which is genuine and effective invention. They come up with new things, and they're very sensitive. They actually have 5 psychic inputs, which is the most of any type. So they can take in information from other sources all at once. They're super sensitive, which is what allows them to create new things, because they're synthesizing so many different things at once. The negative pole is artifice, which is artificial or superficial creation, which is when they could be just copying something that exists and not really creating something new. So that's the negative pole of that. And all these people down here at the bottom are also artisans. It's David Bowie, Eric Clapton, Kurt Cobain, Leonardo DiCaprio, Walt Disney, Robert Downey Jr., Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson, Scarlett Johansson, Daniel Day-Lewis, George Lucas, Marilyn Monroe, Alanis Morissette, Jim Morrison, Brad Pitt, and Vincent Van Gogh. They're all these sensitive types. You can see they're all involved in creative work of some kind. So that's just a typical thing for artisans, is to be involved in something creative. Not always the case, but that's their natural tendency. So that's his essence twin. His casting is scholar, so this is the secondary characteristics that he takes on, which is about seeking knowledge. It's a type that likes to study. They need something to study in depth. So they sift through a lot of information and then try they assimilate things from their experiences, and then they communicate what they've learned with other people. But they're the neutral type out of all 7 types. So they're the ones that are on the side helping all the other types to basically, they provide knowledge, and it's a resource for everybody to relate to. So this, when in your casting, is kind of like the domain that you're focused in. So he's focused on studying things, but this can help him get deep into his music and really study things in depth. The positive pole is knowledge. It's just being truthful, thorough, and integrating. The negative pole is theory, which is being separate from experience, projecting out ideas rather than connecting with it. Some scholars are Ramana Maharshi, who's a spiritual figure from India, Alan Moore, who's the writer of Watchmen and V for Vendetta, Eckhart Tolle, he's also a spiritual figure. He wrote The Power of Now and A New Earth. Albert Einstein, Anthony Hopkins, Thomas Jefferson, William Shakespeare, Daniel Craig, and Daniel Radcliffe. They're all scholars. So this is a secondary characteristic for him. His main thing will be king, and artisan is the next most primary one, and then scholar after that. So those are the 3 main characteristics he has mixed together of those 3 roles. So here is his soul age or focus. This soul age or focus is known as structure, or the baby soul age. It comes after the first one, which is survival, which there's not a ton of people currently on the planet that are in survival. We've moved on past that. There's not too many new souls that are coming in. And the reason that is because we don't know if the planet's going to survive. So to bring in new souls will make things a little bit more problematic. But he's in the structuring focus, which is emphasizing lessons about working with the structure of civilization. In the positive pole, it's formation, where you focus on lessons about community, such as following simple rules and procedures. In the negative pole, it's rigidity, where precepts and rules are followed blindly. But it's just figuring out the right way to do things, and how to integrate with society and be parts of communities and stuff like that. Because in the soul age before that, you were more dealing with maybe like smaller, like tribal kind of societies. They're not like big societies and communities. So he's in the level 7 of the structuring focus, which is the final stage. So basically, he's at the point where he's teaching other people what he's learned about the structuring soul age or focus. And he's already gaining some understanding of the next soul age, which is the achievement focus or young soul age, where you're totally focused on worldly success and achievement. So you work really hard to achieve things in the world. It's very externally oriented. So that's what he'll be moving into in the upcoming lives. He'll be moving into the young soul age. Some of these, the names like the infant, baby, young, mature, old, they just indicate different chapters and different lessons that you're going through. It doesn't mean that you're not spiritual, because you can be spiritual at any of these. Although on the mature soul age and old soul age, it becomes a lot more spiritual, because you start going from external focus, which is the first three soul ages, into a more inner focused orientation, which is in the relationship or mature soul age that's focused on the inner world and emotions. And in context focus or old soul age, it's more about developing a perspective and understanding based on all your previous experience through your whole cycle. So what happens is we go through all these different soul ages, and it takes typically about 100 to 200 lives to get through all of them. Some of them, some people have more lives because it's the choice of the individual soul of how much experience they want to have. If they want to have a more thorough experience, they'll have more lives. But typically it's 100 to 200 to complete all these different soul ages. And once you get to the end of the old soul age, then you stop incarnating on the planet and you move into the higher planes of existence, and eventually merge into your cadre or entity, which are like bigger like soul groups that you're a part of. And then you ultimately merge with infinite consciousness and take a break for a while. And then you go to a new planet and you choose a new essence type. So his role would be in a future cycle, it would be something different than King, probably. So that's the soul age or focus for him. His goal is discrimination, which emphasizes critical faculties and saying no. So it's building a better discriminatory approach, knowing which things are good things to follow or do, or people to associate with, and then kind of rejecting or saying no to things that aren't helpful. So the opposite of the goal of discrimination is acceptance, which is saying yes, learning to say yes to things, and you have a lot of hard challenges and you have to just say yes, this is how things are. But this is the opposite. It's the one that's saying no. It's focused on saying no to things. So you basically, in the positive pole, it's called sophistication, which is where you've done the work of sifting through perceptions and arriving at a well-developed taste. And the negative pole is prejudice, which is forming an opinion without engaging in intellectually processing the facts. So that's his goal. So the goal is, this is a characteristic, and all the ones I'm going to say after this are characteristics that he chose just for this life. His essence is the king, artisan, and scholar characteristics. Those will be the same through all his lives, but his goal of discrimination is for this life. Same thing with his attitude. This is only for this life. His attitude is spiritualist, which is viewing the world in terms of its possibilities. It's seeing things higher and being very inspired towards what's possible. In the positive pole, it's verification, where you perceive inspirational possibilities and determine the possibility of them being achieved. And the negative pole is this faith, where you just blindly follow an inspiring view without validating it. But, you know, it's a spiritual outlook on things. So that's essentially what that means. So his mode, which is how you release your energy, it's power, which is where you release your energy strongly. Power is aligned with the expression axis. So it's a lot like the sage. So it's when he expresses himself, it just comes with power. So on the positive pole, it's an authority, where you amplify your expression, making you appear knowledgeable and confident. In the negative pole, it's oppression, where you throw your weight around, which bears down uncomfortably on others. So it's a very powerful thing. I mean, it's obviously power mode. So this is the strongest mode you can choose from, the most palpable. So, and it's very noticeable. They're, yeah, like I said, they're very confident in how they express themselves. So that's his mode. His centering is physical, and there's 4 different centers you can have. It can be physical, moving, emotional, or intellectual. So his main centering is physical, which is bodily excitation. So it's feeling your physicality, what's in your body. It's really led by gut feelings and different sensations in your body, which indicate different things intuitively to you. So in the positive pole, it's you feel alive. You experience your physicality purely without limiting moral judgments. So you just incorporate and accept and feel everything that's coming through you in your physical body and all the different sensations. In the negative pole, is stimulated, where you're just you're limited, focus on the localized stimulation of the body that is not integrated with the whole. So that's his centering. It isn't the most common one. It's probably one of the least common. Most people are intellectually centered, it seems, especially in the Western world. So this is a little bit of a different characteristic than the norm, to be physically centered. So that's interesting. His obstacle is martyrdom, where you feel like a martyr, like you do everything for everybody else, and you just feel like a victim. You're just being victimized all the time, taken advantage of. And then you kind of sit in this suffering of feeling like a victim. You also feel unworthy. In the positive pole, it's selflessness, where you suffer needlessly in an attempt to earn worth. And the thing is about the obstacle is it's the thing that you choose in a life that is a challenge. So even the positive pole is kind of a negative characteristic, but it kind of indicates that you would be doing everything for everyone else, trying to earn worth, but you just suffer needlessly. In the negative pole, it's mortification, where you practice extreme self-denial and you suffer low self-esteem. So that's his obstacle. His body type is mercurial, which is a very energetic body type to have. They're good communicators. Physical characteristics are typically dark hair and eyes, and they have compact bodies. The archetype is the perfectionist. In the positive pole, they're intellectually active, perceptive, witty, clever, versatile, have a sunny disposition, and clarity of expression. In the negative pole, they're inconsistent, impulsive, explosive, nervous, jittery, argumentative, sarcastic, cynical, critical, frenetic, wired, and whining. But this is another expression axis type. Lines with the sage. It's a lot like the sage, but it's all about communicating. So that's really big for him, because communication comes across through his platform he's taken it through music. So Mercurial really fits for him in that sense. So those are all his characteristics, his main characteristics. He does have secondaries of centering and obstacle and body type, but I didn't go into those. And there's some other characteristics too, like his soul family and stuff, but I'm not going into that much detail because I don't want this video to be too long. But these are the main things to pay attention to. And while looking at this, like to overview, you can see that out of all these characteristics, the most common color here is blue. So there's the light blue and the dark blue, which means that he's mainly focused on the expression axis, which is a very creative and expressive type to be. So all these things are aligned with that. That would be his artisan essence twin, his structure focus, his goal of discrimination, power mode, and mercurial body type. But he does have a mix of all the different axes. You know, he's got a good mix too, because he's a king, which is an action-oriented type. Scholar, which is the assimilative type. His attitude is spiritualist. His mode is power. Like I was saying, his centering is physical, and his obstacle is martyrdom. Those are both on the action axis. So he does have a good mix, but the most primary things is his role, king, and his focus, which is structure, which is his soul age, which is a baby soul age, and his goal of discrimination. So you can see he's a very creative, expressive type based on all these characteristics, but he's also a leader as a king. So you can see that too, that the leadership comes through pretty strongly. And he's got some indications of that in his Vedic Astrology, which is what I'm going to go into next. So that's his Michael teachings.